want to launch an iPad application for the scheme expert, they will be able to use the same content repository. And they can monetize on this right now because they both have a simpler content production workflow in terms of once they have produced the content, sent it to print, they kind of get the web content for free because that's the tool they use to produce the content in. And they're able to monetize also by having paid subscriptions on the web. Another example which you might have heard about is the Christian Science Monitor. This is an American daily newspaper, and they were the first nationally circulated newspaper in the US to close down their daily print publication. They realized that, and this is a different example, because if you look at the Financial Times, it's a very specific vertical. They have the financial vertical, but then again they are talking specifically about pensions, for example. They might be perhaps the only brand that are covering that type of information. So it's very simple for them to charge for the content because there is no competition. Or very little. And when you look at CS Monitor, this is daily news. Yes, they have a different editorial perspective than some of them, but again, they're covering the oil spill in the Gulf or Barack Obama's latest whatever it is. So it's kind of, the information is available in many sources. So they decided to go from a daily printed newspaper to a bi-weekly news magazine. So that was one of their first choices, and this meant that they had to change both their internal organizations. They are about 80 journalists spread around the world creating content for this newspaper, and they had to change, let's say, from every morning 9 a.m., 8 a.m. meeting where they all got together and talked about, okay, these are the stories we're writing today, what's the progress, what can we expect to be finished by the end of the day, and that sort of thing. So a continuous deadline for any type of content, which of course fits to the web, because there's no print deadline for a newspaper on the web, as everybody knows. But they still wanted to, of course, channel the content to the print newspaper, and they went, and I think they were one of the first, at least that I know, that really went 100% for a web-first strategy, producing all the content in Easy Publish as the web content management system, pushing this to other networks like LexisNexis for selling their content. That's a content broker which at least is very popular in the US, because they're producing their own content. They're not reusing content from Reuters or AP or other press agencies. So at the same time as they produce the content neutral, push it to print, push it to syndication, to mobile, and they're also launching iPad versions. I actually think they're launching the Kindle version first for some reason, but that has some traction in the US in terms of readership. So it's a very interesting story in terms of their setup. There was a huge change internally in terms of adopting the new processes. The gain was very noticeable. Economic impacts was that they were able to convert like 96% of their subscribers to the daily newspaper, to the bi-weekly news magazine, which meant higher profits because they charge more for the bi-weekly magazine, and lower cost because it is less costly to produce one magazine every 2 weeks than it is to print a newspaper every day, even though the magazine has higher quality. And they were able to grow this with about 60% during the first 6 months after the relaunch, and they more than doubled their web traffic. They are having 95 5% of their online content available for free. They have all their archives back to 85 available, searchable on the web. And they found that 5% of their readers were willing to pay 100 times more than the others. So they have some content that is only available if you are subscribing. It's quite pricey, meaning that it's more like a $50 subscription versus a 50-cent subscription, which is what they could charge from everybody. So they still are able to keep up their, let's say, anonymous or public readership, have an ad model there, and charge a good premium for that specific content, which is interesting for the hardcore readers, to put it like that. Specifically, this is videos that they're charging for. They have a monthly news breakfast where everybody that knows anything about news are gathered and discussed, and people find that interesting to listen to, apparently. Just to continue with yet another example, and this is to resonate on the, if you have a media brand and if you have a vertical that is quite specific, you have a good niche, then like the Wall Street Journal, this is the Japan edition, they're charging for content. They have, again, like 80% of their content only available if you have a paid subscription. Same kind of scenario as for the Financial Times. Same kind of challenges editorially in terms of integrations. Of course, they have different challenges with character sets, but I assume that it works fine. I'm not able to understand anything. So. But the media vertical is of course special. But the same kind of tools and the same kind of processes are being implemented in other verticals also. If you are a retailer, for example, there's a big trend to have your web product catalog as the main repository, then feed this to other channels for, let's say, printing the product catalogs or having PDF downloads of the product inventory. If you look at Mazars, and this is a financial institution, it's originally a French company. They are in 40 countries, about 11,000 employees, and I think they mostly do financial advice, accounting advice, that sort of services. And part of their process is that when they approach a client, they are selling basically some of their stuff. So they say, these 10 analysts is what we recommend to do this, whatever the project is. And whenever an analyst has completed a project, of course their CV looks better, because then they have worked for, I don't know, Volvo or BMW or any type of large organization. So it's very important for them to have always an up-to-date profile, and of course they're not able to know their people by heart, because they're like 11,000 people. So they've implemented, as part of their infrastructure, and this is specifically on their intranet, even though it ties into all of their solutions. They have about 40 Easy Publish portals up and running, both internally and externally. But in terms of a web-first strategy, I just wanted to mention what they call the Team Wizard, which enables them to take the profiles that are created on the intranet for all the accountants and analysts that they have. So I can pick, okay, these 10 people I want to pitch for a client, and you generate a PowerPoint slide based on the profiles and the countries that they have available, which is continuously updated because it's dynamic. It's whenever they change the profile, they do it in this case, the intranet. So they go for a web-first strategy where they produce the content centrally in a neutral format, have this pushed, of course, to the web and extranets and those types of channels, but also through their sales channel by generating in this case, a PowerPoint deck based on the profile information that is available in the content repository. So there's of course many other stories. I just wanted to take a few concrete examples to underline what we see as a very big trend in specifically in the media vertical, but it also resonates in other verticals, and there's a lot of benefit in going for a web-first strategy, as you have both in terms of the content production, having content being always in sync, and of course being able to reach your audience on whichever channel you have available. So based on that, I would like to show some of this by example. And what I'll do is I'll show Easy Publish, and this is the default installation of the software. Of course, whenever you're deploying a web content management platform, there are need for integration, both in terms of which systems you're going to connect to. Do you have a document repository like Christian is going to talk about? How do you connect these? Do you have a graphical profile, for example? You need to implement the user interface. So just want to show a few examples of live sites running the software. This is the BMW Motorsport. It's delivered by NXC International, or a different NXC, yeah, NXC at least. Media example, L Magazine. Okay, it's on the wall there. So it was kind of like, what? Lagardère is running L with Easy Publish in I think about 30 countries, and they are of course an example of how you can implement a media brand in terms of look and feel with Easy Publish. Some other examples, yeah. This is a newspaper in the Caribbean, in Costa Rica, which is a daily newspaper. And what's interesting here is that they have implemented again same type of web-first strategy, producing now the content for web-first, pushing it to print, but also charging content in a pay-per-view model. So this is not a subscription, but if I would like to